Let's quickly explore SLI and SLO management here in the APM functionality. In the service catalog, we can see the SLO status. We can see various SLIs that have been breached and are okay, and some that are not applicable. So the window has not elapsed yet. Now, when we want to add a new SLI, we have multiple options from where we can do it. We can do it from the front end here, and we can add a new SLI from here, or we can do it from the general catalog at the main part here. When we add a new SLI, we can select a service, or we can just simply select all of them. And then we have two options for our SLIs, latency and error. For latency, it's very common for you to pick a minimum threshold and make sure that your application cannot exceed that. For example, I might say that my applications, so all my applications, cannot exceed 100 milliseconds. This is an SLO across all of my services. Or I may want to lock into further details by selecting a particular service or particular application. I can also look in on the tags as well. So for example, I can say, okay, let's say that I've got a given SDK language. All of my Java applications, or my Go applications, my Python applications, must not exceed 100 milliseconds, for example. So I've selected the SDK with Python there, for example. If I get rid of this, obviously the graph will update and it will show all the data again. So I can select different types of SLOs based on what I need. I can also select the error type as well. So this will allow me to tolerate how many errors I'm willing to put up with. Here now the metric changes to the number of errors in a given time space. And what I can do is I can say, okay, for a given percentage of time. So for example, my SLO is that for let's say over the 7 days, I must have 99% of my time is not spent erroring. Likewise, 99% of my latency is not spent exceeding my threshold of 100 milliseconds, for example. So what I would see here is that I would almost certainly breach the threshold. When I give it a name, I should give it a name that's appropriate. So for example, I've given it SLI latency response time. Notice a few things here, the underscores, no spaces, no hyphens. It's just simply lowercase, uppercase, and underscores. Your description should give some reason as to why this SLI is useful. So you shouldn't just repeat the name. You should say, why is it important? Why are we trying to maintain this standard with our teams? When you add a new threshold, when you add it, what will happen is it will update in the UI for the relevant tools, and it will begin to breach or okay depending on the metrics and the underlying data. SLOs and SLIs are really, really important because it gives you an idea, a very clear overview of how the health of your application is performing. SLIs can be cross-cutting, meaning that you have them across all of your applications, or they can be very specific for this particular endpoint in a particular application in a particular language. So you can choose how specific you wish to be, but I would recommend having a broad brush SLI and SLO to cover some of the most basic cases. For example, no request should exceed 1 second, or no errors should exceed 10%. That's just a basic standard that all applications have to cover. And then for your critical applications, creating some very specific SLOs and SLIs. It's important here that you don't conflate the role of SLOs and SLIs with alarms, okay? SLIs are more about maintaining service. Alarms are about detecting when something has gone wrong.